progressive interest is one of the hidden fees when you are purchasing a property, but a lot of people do not acknowledge about it. So now let's check out what it is and how to calculate it. So the general concept is that it is the interest payable to the developers for them to pay the interest charged on them for the construction cost to the banks, right, through different construction stages. And when you need to pay it, normally it is after all the agreements are stamped and also all the payments are cleared, including the stamp duties. So where does progressive interest applicable? So it is only applicable in an undercon market, or we call it the primary market, only via Schedule G or Schedule H, which is for the individual title property or strata title property under the sell then build system STB. So it is not applicable in a completed development or aka subsale market. So here is the progressive interest payment schedule. As you can see, we have 5 different stages and it total have 100% of the payment for the interest. So now the question is how to calculate progressive interest. Well, before that, you need to know a few things. Number one, the calculation depends on the few factors, including the SPA price you bought, the level of the unit that you bought in a development, especially in strata development, the interest rate that you got in your LO, and what is the stage of construction after you sign the SPA and you have all the agreements stamped. So here's the formula to calculate the progressive interest for a particular month, which is we take the current construction progress stage in percentage based on the schedule, and then you times the interest rate based on your LO and times 30 days divide by 365 days. So here's an example. Say you bought a property at 500,000 ringgit and you got a loan approved at 90% LTV with a 3.3% interest rate and a 35 years loan tenure. And by the time you sign your SPA, the progress of the construction has reached 45%. So now to calculate the progressive interest for your next payment would be as follows. First of all, the next stage completion would be 55%, right? Since you bought it at 45% completion. So by the time you need to pay the next progressive interest payment, the development must have reached 55% of the completion of construction. So 55% multiplied by 500,000 property SPA price, multiplied by the interest rate that you got, as mentioned in the LO, 3.3%, and times 30 divided by 365 days. So you get an amount of 746 ringgit. So that amount you start to pay once you have your first billing of the progressive interest every month until it reaches the completion of the next construction stage. And that amount will be higher. So here are some bonuses. If your loan is lesser than 70% that you got from the banks, then your progressive interest payment would start much later in the stages as compared to those that got 90% loan for a same development. Say if you got a 70% loan from a bank and you bought at the pre-launch stage, also pre-construction stage, whereby the property is not even 10% completed. And one of the caveat is also you bought it with 0% rebates. So your progressive payment would start from the completion of stage 2B, which is at 35% of the completion of the construction, instead of the stage 2A as for the 90% loan borrowers. One more thing is that completion of the construction stages is not certified or determined by developers. Instead, it is certified by registered and professional architect or registered professional engineer, or we call it PSP, Principal Submitting Person. Right? It is certified at every stages so that the developers can then claim the money, right, from the subsequent completion of construction from the banks, to make sure that there's no fraud or developers run away with extra money whereby they didn't abide with their responsibilities to complete the property itself. So here's the summary. First of all, progressive interest only applicable for primary market or undercon market, and it's not applicable for completed property, right, as it serves for the interest for construction costs. Second is that it is needed to pay after you get every agreement signed and stamped, right, including settling down all the payments required, right, including the stamp duties. Number 3 is that you need to do your best estimation for your cash flow planning, right ahead, using the progressive interest calculation, especially when you're purchasing a new undercom property, so that you won't be surprised when you receive the billing from developers even before you get the key. So that's all for progressive interest. If you want to learn more about property,
please hit the like, share, and subscribe button to notification and I'll see you in my next video.